My first football icon was R9, Ronaldo. So it was weird. I was a centre back, but I loved Ronaldo, who played up front, obviously. So I would try and emulate Ronaldo, everything he did. I was just obsessed with how good he was. He was even to this day, I think he's probably second to Messi. The commitment is real. As you say, it's just purely to win. That is all it has been from when I was 4. First playing football to now. I want to win. I'm the same with my son. My son goes to jiu-jitsu, trains 4-5 times a week, sometimes 6 times a week. When he's sparring with kids, I want him to do well. He's doing it to win. You want them to do well and understand why they're doing it at the same time.
I think you could be harsh with a boy, but you can't be harsh with a girl, because a girl could be more emotional.
I probably didn't actually deep it like that at the time. I just thought, another injury, we crack on. But when again reflecting and looking back, I probably struggled because again I'd been out for 9 months in my first year. So I struggled and I didn't come back again. I come back unfit. I hated running anyway, and I was just mentally weak. I remember my mum coming to me one day after work. I'm lying around in the house, and she just come up to me and said, "Listen, you can't do this no more. You need to sort yourself out and get yourself together. Yeah, you've had a setback. It is what it is. You either go again or go and find yourself a job."
Welcome to Evolve and Inspire, a podcast that proves success isn't about where you start, but where you decide to go. I'm your host, Huzaifa, and each episode we bring you raw, unfiltered conversations with remarkable individuals who've defied the odds, broken through barriers, and transformed their circumstances. From humble beginnings to extraordinary achievements, our guests share their journeys of resilience, determination, and unwavering spirit. These aren't just success stories, they're blueprints of possibility, showing that your background doesn't define your future. Whether you're starting from scratch, facing obstacles, or seeking inspiration to take that next bold step, you're in the right place. Together, we'll explore the mindsets and pivotal moments that turn adversity into advantage. So join me as we uncover stories that prove that with the right mindset and determination, anyone can evolve beyond their circumstances and inspire others along the way. This is Evolve and Inspire. Let's begin. Welcome to another episode of Evolve and Inspire. Today we have Aaron Forde, partner of Foundations for the Future, along with a glistening semi-professional football career that ended up relegating Rushall recently. Aaron, how you doing? You okay?
I'm not bad, brother. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Take me back to your beginning, where you grew up, the school you went to. How were you as a child in school?
Okay, I grew up, to be fair, around the corner in Aston. I was born, I had a house in Witten. I grew up around here for 6 years. My mum and my nan, my mum's mum, she lived in Erdington. She was a bit poorly, so we ended up moving over there. And that's where it all really started, from when I moved to Erdington. I went to Birches Green Junior School, and then I moved on to Kingsbury School for my secondary education, which was entertaining to say the least.
So how were you in school? Were you someone that achieved significantly, or you said it was entertaining? How was it entertaining?
So I think I would probably class myself as one of them students who could always get by. If I really put myself to it and actually put effort in, I could have achieved well. But I was always obviously sporting. Everything was sport. Education was very much secondary, if honest. Obviously I always played football, loved football, kicked a ball about from as early as I can remember, to be honest. I literally played football my whole life, and that was it. I'd never really cared about school. So I started off as a centre back. So my dad played as a centre back, and he was quite good. Not that I've never seen, but yeah, he was quite good. So I played as a centre back. Obviously, you wanted to follow your dad. But my first football icon was R9, Ronaldo. So it was weird. I was a centre back, but I loved Ronaldo, who played up front, obviously. So I would try and emulate Ronaldo, everything he did. I was just obsessed with how good he was. He was even to this day, I think he's probably second to Messi. He's got an argument for number one, greatest ever. But that was it. I just love football. So for school, it was kind of I didn't really concentrate. Primary school, I was well behaved. I had no issues. I was fine. So as I moved into secondary school, obviously I'm a single child, so it's just me, only child, no brothers or sisters. So I just always remember that transition from year 6 to year 7 being very big. It was a very big step for me. Again, a lot of my friends had older brothers, sisters, cousins, whoever else, you know what I mean, aunties, uncles, whatever it may be, and I was just me. So you had to find your feet, especially in Kingsbury back then. Obviously it's called Edenton Academy now, but yeah, Kingsbury School, if anyone who's from local knows about Kingsbury School, do you know what I mean? So yeah, it was tough. My first years, I'd kind of just floated by. At this point, I think it was like the end of year 7, start of year 8. That's when I signed for Wolves. So that was obviously a big thing for me. I'd had loads of options to go to loads of different academies when I was a young lad. But my dad always was like, nah, I just want you to enjoy playing football. And I was like, cool, yeah, so do I. I'm not too bothered. But then got to secondary school, obviously, and it kind of like, it just made sense for me to kind of take that step, and for some reason we chose Wolves, which is obviously one of the furthest away. So yeah, my journey at Wolves was brilliant. Had a really good time there and learnt loads, man.
How long were you at Wolves for?
So I was at Wolves, I think it was under 12s or 13s, all the way to under 16s. Yeah, had a really good time there. Met even people that I still speak to today, obviously through non-league, and yeah, it was a great experience. When I look back now, like, I'm very grateful that I have that experience to look back on and reflect on. And yeah, it was good, man.
Did being in that academy impact your secular studies?
Yeah, 100%. That's all I focused on. It's all I focused on. Well, I say all I focused on for a time. For the first 2 years, from year 8 through to year 10. That was literally it. That was my world kind of thing. So just, I think it was 3 times a week training. So I'd go to school, straight back home. My friends would be in the park messing about, doing what you do after school when you're a teenager. And I'm like, saying safe, see you later, I'll see you tomorrow. And I'm jumping on the M6, do you know what I mean? And I always say, to be fair, like, especially over the last few years, as you get older, you kind of reflect on things. And my parents, the commitment that they shown to me as a young lad was unbelievable, and that's not just me. There's many parents and kids who are in academies and they do the same thing, and I take my hat off to them, because the commitment is real. It really is. You know, going up the M6 3 times a week. My dad would be on nights, so he would take me up, drop me off, jump back down the M6, drive back down, and then go to work. Do you know what I mean? And then wake up, go have a sleep. Wake up in the middle of the day. Repeat. So yeah, it was a big commitment for them, and it was for myself as well. When I look back now, you have to be committed if you're going to take that step into academy football.
Do you think being in an academy at that particular time kept you out of trouble? Because there's a lot of things that you could have done in that time than 3 days a week.
Yeah, 100%. I think it was a combination of things. So I think one was my dad. My dad was on me. There was no messing. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't be acting up and doing certain things that, say, some of my friends were doing, because if my dad found out, then when the doors closed, it's a problem. Do you know what I mean? But football, definitely, it was for a few years. But again, the first 2 years, it was all I focused on. You know, I valued it so much, and I think probably what happened for me was, once I kind of hit year 11 and you start now really thinking, right, this is going to be my career, you take it for granted. Yeah. You start thinking, yeah, this is me for life kind of thing. This is what I've always done, and this is what I'll always do. And I think for me, I definitely took my eye off the ball, in a sense of how I conducted myself. I weren't always focused on football, what my friends were doing. I started to then do, thinking, you know what, I can still do both. You know, I might come home a little bit later, which means we got to training later, or just getting involved in things that you shouldn't be doing. And that did come into play towards the end, really.
At what point did you know that Wolves weren't going to take you on, and that was kind of not the end of your career, but the end of that pathway?
So it was under 15s. We'd been doing really well. I'd been doing quite well, to be fair. And there was a change in the whole academy structure. So the academy manager, he moved on. He got a job at Bolton, I think, as a part of the first team, management team. And we had a new guy come in called Kevin Falwell. And just didn't get on. As simple as that. And again, you know, being 30, 32 years of age now, you've plenty of times where you've reflected and you think, you didn't help yourself in so many of them situations. But we just clash. It was a clash of personality. I was kind of quite abrasive, quite outspoken, and they didn't want that ultimately. Whereas the management team before, they loved it. They were kind of a little bit more old school. I always say, to be fair, it's kind of, when I look back, it's kind of that transitional period, I think, in football where things were changing. Your old type of players like your Roy Keanes, your Paul Inces, that type of mould of player, you don't have that now. And that kind of died out around about the late 2000s, 2010, 2015. That's when, for me, you had like a Joey Bart and you had like Kevin Nolans. They were that type of player. Well, you don't really get that now, and since then you've not had that.
Do you think that's just something to do with football, or do you think that's a societal change?
I think it's both.
Because if you think about players now, and obviously you're still involved within football, I don't feel like they have that same desire. It's more of like, it's the whole taking part that counts kind of thing. They don't have that desire. Or if you lose a game, I think you're the type of personality, which is probably similar to me, but that you'd get upset about it.
Yeah.
And I know people say don't get high with your highs and don't get low with your lows, but it's just natural. Like,
of course,
you're not enjoying the coach journey home after losing 2-3-0.
No, of course you're not.
And that's ruining your weekend until Monday. And I think if you look at it now in a dressing room, people can very shrug it off really quickly.
Yeah, to move on. It's not. It is what it is. As you say, years ago, you lose on a weekend and it's your whole weekend's ruined. You don't really want to talk to your missus, your parents, whatever. Like, you just, do you know what I mean? Until you're back training and then go again, kind of thing. So it definitely has an impact. I think that's the whole point in participation in sport, is to win, isn't it? At the end of the day, don't get me wrong. Over the years, I have started to see more of the importance of the participation and people actually getting to experience taking part in a sport, whether that's football or tennis or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, you're still doing it to win. And I think that's a big thing, mentality.
How does it frustrate you being in these dressing rooms now where that mentality is not the same as your mentality? You
know what? I think the last few years, I've kind of been able to kind of come to terms with it. And it's took me a long time. long time, as you know. People know me in non-league for being a hothead and being angry and whatnot. But as you say, it's just purely to win. Like that is all it has been from when I was 4, first playing football, to now. While I play football, as long as I'm involved in football or any sport, I want to win. I'm the same with my son. My son goes to jiu-jitsu. He trains 4-5 times a week, sometimes 6 times a week. When he's sparring with kids, I want him to do well. He's doing it to win. Don't get me wrong, obviously you don't want them to hurt each other, of course you don't, but you want them to do well and understand why they're doing it at the same time.
After you then left Wolves, where did your footballing career take you?
So I went to Walsall. I was very lucky in the sense of that I didn't really have to go and do exit trials and things like that. I knew the academy manager at the time, Mick Housel, who I got on with for years, and he had tried to get me to go to Walsall for quite a few times. And so when obviously I got let go from Wolves, he kind of somehow found out and was just straight on the phone and was like, listen, I'll sort you out here, we'll give you a 2-year scholarship straight away, don't have to come in and trial or any of that. And I had a few offers, to be fair, and I always say this to my dad. I look back now and there was so many opportunities. I could have went to Crystal Palace, Wickham. There's so many different clubs down south, and I actually wanted to go. I wanted to get away from Birmingham. My friends, as much as obviously you've got love for your friends, sometimes you understand that we're doing things here that's not going to benefit me and what I'm trying to go and do, so I need to come away from that. But my dad wanted me to stay local and be at Walsall. Was like, if you've got any issues or whatever it is, we're here, your support network's here. So kind of decided to go to Walsall and done my 2 years there, and that was a good experience. Really good experience. Do
you think you would have been able to move away at that particular moment in time with your support network still in Birmingham?
Yeah. Because I was always quite strong-minded. I grew up as an only child, so being on my own was never an issue. Not that I was ever alone. I always have had friends socially. I've never had an issue, but at the same time, it wouldn't have been a problem to me.
Did you think that you ever had that single child syndrome? where you're kind of a bit spoiled, a bit entitled?
No, not at all.
Not at
Never.
all.
Like, so many people ask me that, and like the surprise, obviously, that I am an only child, and I say, yeah, no, I didn't get that luxury, unfortunately. You know, black Caribbean parent, dad, like, it's not happening. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I was brought up how he was brought up. Do you know what I mean? In terms of the values and morals, like, you're not getting spoiled. You're not, for example, at Christmas, I'd have to wait for like the new latest game. So say with like, I don't know, FIFA would come out.
Yeah.
It comes out in like September, innit? Just before people, everyone's getting it. Callum, all my friends are getting it. Me, I'm waiting. By this time it's come out and I've got it. There's the new one's already on its way out. Do you know what I mean? So I was always catching up behind people. The same with trainers, anything, man. Now I didn't get that luxury.
You're growing up like that. Do you think that it shaped you for the betterment in
100%.
terms of building resilience?
100%, 100,000,000%. Don't get me wrong, it was tough at times, obviously. Do you know what I mean? Like life is.
Yeah.
But not massively. I was very lucky. Like, my parents have always been absolutely brilliant. I couldn't speak highly enough of them. I kind of had the perfect balance, good cop, bad cop as a kid. You know, obviously mum looked after me, did everything for me in a sense. If I got in trouble at school, it was like, tell mum, not dad, because mum would look after me. Do you know what I mean? Unless it was serious and she's like, nah, you've crossed the line there. Like, off you go. I'm telling you, dad, you're gonna have to deal with it. But yeah, it definitely has molded me into the person I am, and to be able to deal with some of the adversities that come in life, really.
Do you think that your upbringing has molded you into the parent that you are? Are you more so your dad? Are you more so your mum?
That's a great question. I would like to think that I'm a bit of both. I'm a bit of both, especially with my son. Yeah, like my son, I can literally, like, he's like my best mate.
Yeah.
Like, literally, we'll sit there, we'll go and play football, we'll watch something on TV together. Not that he sits down and watches TV much.
Yeah.
You know, like, constantly we'll go jiu-jitsu or taking football. So we're always together. But at the same time, I am harsh on him at times. And sometimes I sit back and I reflect on that too. And I think, oh man, you know, at the end of the day, you think, I could have dealt with that. I should have dealt with it a bit better. Like, you know, he's understanding. But at the same time, I think it's very important for young boys to have that kind of, the little bit of fear, a little, not much, but a little bit of fear to know, I'm not going to cross that line no more. If not, I think, and obviously we'll probably go into it, that's kind of how we have got the society where we have of young people now who are kind of free roaming, don't have any kind of values, morals, you know, but at the same time they're on their own because they haven't actually been raised by their parents.
See, you've recently had a daughter now.
Yeah.
So you said obviously that you've got, with your son, you're able to be a bit harsh on him. Do you feel you'll be able to do the same thing to your daughter?
Probably not, no.
No chance. No chance.
Most definitely not. I look at her, she just melts me. I'm like, oh, my son did, but at the same time I was like, he's my son. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's my son.
It's different for men and women. It's just different. Having a boy and having a girl is just completely different challenges.
100%.
And the way you, like, I think you could be harsh with a boy, but you can't be harsh with a girl, because a girl could be more emotional.
And when I mean harsh, I think probably harsh is the wrong word. I'm firm. I'm just very firm with him. Like, some of his friends might get to do certain things. I'm like, nah, you're not doing that. And he's like, he'll try and do it. And then I have to, like, raise my voice and say, like, seriously, put that serious face on. And he then understands, like, okay. And then he'll then have a moan and a whinge and he'll have to explain why. So yeah, I think harsh is probably a wrong word. More firm.
More firm. So after Walsall, what did you do there?
So yeah, my journey at Walsall was a mad one, and probably filters back to the last question about my childhood and upbringing, because it was tough. I was injured for probably over half of the time that I was there. I remember going from Wolves and I was straight with the first team. I remember going doing pre-season with the first team, and then about 3-4 weeks into the season, I had an issue with my knee. Had some pain with my knee. Didn't really know what it was. Played through it, and at the time, it's weird. I was talking about this to someone yesterday, actually, a Walsall fan. But the physio at the time, John Whitney, his name was. He ended up being the manager at Walsall for a few years. But he basically didn't believe me. In a nutshell, he was trying to say, like, there's nothing wrong with you. Man up. If you want to be like a footballer, you need to get through it. I was thinking like, mate, that's not me. Like, do you know what I mean? You can't be saying that to me. Like, what do you mean? Especially as a young lad.
Yeah.
And I remember carried on playing, and then I had another physio who, when I was with the youth team, and I was speaking to him, and he said, "You think you need to go and get a scan, have a look." They ended up getting a scan, and I had something called patellar tendinopathy, which is like a degeneration of the patellar tendon. So basically, my patellar tendon was finished. It was degenerative, so it was like a 40-year-old's man's knee, in like a 16, 17-year-old's body. So it was weird. So they didn't really know how to do it, and it was mad at the time. Just as the new year turned, so in the January, there was some new kind of legislation which was like for treatment of this, and it was like I can't remember the word for it, but basically to separate your white and red blood cells, and then to regenerate back into the degenerative area. It was only allowed I think it would have been 2011. 2010, 2011, like by the like doping bodies, it was like illegal to do, but it was past whatever, and you were able to do it. So I had that, and I was out for like 9 months. Couldn't do anything at all. Couldn't run. I just had to rest basically. So I was like having to go in to Walsall. Obviously, everyone's playing. You're 16, 17. You're playing, and I'm just there going into the gym, feeling like I could play, and there's nothing really wrong with me, but I've got this issue. And it was mad because there was not many people who knew much about it, and there was one lad who was at Walsall. Funny enough, he's at Birmingham now. Charlton Davis, his name was, who was at Walsall, and he had the exact same injury, and it finished him at like 20, 21. Like he didn't end up going on and playing. So it was quite a serious thing, and I come back from that. At the end of the season, for my second year as a scholar, I was made youth team captain by Dean Smith. He come in and took over from Mick because Mick left after 3 months and went to Wolves. So obviously he got me to go to Walsall, and then went to Wolves, and I was like, sound Mick, cheers, mate. So Dean took over, and again I had a good experience. Dean was brilliant. I give him his credit. Obviously he's gone on to do great things in the game. Obviously he was the manager at Villa, going back into the Prem, probably the starting blocks of why they've got the success that they have now, and I think he's in America now. So he's done well out of the game, but he was good. And I will never forget the first thing he always said to me was, well, not to me, to the group when he came in, was like, you all need to have ambition. I want to be a first team manager. I want to manage England under 21s, and we all thought like, who are you? Like, who's this? I'd never heard of him like ever before. Do you know? I think he came from like, I don't know, Leighton Orient or something like that. We were all thinking, who's this guy? But then he's gone on to do what he's done, and it just shows that that ambition and that dedication, you can get there. Also, my second year, I ended up basically, I was with the first team. You know, I was on the bench a few times. I think, I'm there. I'm thinking, man, I've made it. Get my debut, and here we go. Played in pre-season against Villa, and a few others, Wolves, I think it was. And I thought, man, I'm on track. And then at the end of the season, about March, I broke my leg. I went and played in a youth team game. I think we were going for the league or a cup or something. I can't remember. And they asked me I played in it, and I broke my leg. So, like, messing about. It was my own fault. I was being silly, and someone like smashed me, basically scissored me from behind. And I didn't know nothing about it. I didn't think like I broke my leg. So I've walked off the pitch. I remember it clearly. I walked off the pitch, gone home. The physio's gone, you might need to go to hospital, check it out. Obviously limping, but I thought, now I'll be all right. I remember sitting at home with my foot up. I was gone to get up, just collapsed on my living room floor at my mum and dad's. Hospitals, leg break, so on and so forth. So we were due to get offered our pro contracts within a few weeks. So obviously that was another setback. Injured again, I went back into pre-season. They said, like, come back pre-season, Dean. Come back pre-season, you'll be all right. Sort you out. Went back pre-season, but I was unfit. I went back and I was unfit. I was decent, but I was unfit. And over the year, you can come to that conclusion. You reflect and go, you weren't at it. Whereas, as a 17, 18 young lad trying to get into the first team, trying to get a pro contract, you need to go and do more. Way more than everyone else is doing. Whereas in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I'm better than most of you lot still anyway, so I'll be all right. Come back, and I'm at the back running with like the 30-year-old goalkeeper Jimmy Walker, who they brought back from West Ham. So didn't offer me nothing. And I remember just saying to Dean, like, listen, it got to like November, and I was just getting paid expenses, and I was like, this can't work. Like, I remember saying, like, what's happening? And he was just like, we can't offer you, we want you to stay. And I said, listen, there's no point, let's just call it a day there. And once I broke my leg, I'd lost my head, to be fair. I'd had enough, like, it just done my head in. And that's where I probably wasn't as resilient as I should have been. So after Walsall then, I was doing nothing.
Mentally, how did you feel after you broke your leg? Because you got to a stage where you're on the cusp of fulfilling your dream.
Yeah.
And then you've got this major setback, and it's not like a hamstring injury or anything like that. It's a leg break.
Yeah. I think I probably didn't actually like deep it like that at the time. I just thought, another injury, we crack on. But when again reflecting and looking back, I probably struggled because again I'd been out for 9 months in my first year, and in my head I'm thinking I should be playing first team now. I'm already been with the first team, already got a squad number. Like, the rest of my teammates in my year hadn't, apart from one other lad. Do you know, actually? You know Johnny Haynes? Do you remember Hainesy? Yeah. So, like, I'm thinking, I should be playing. And Walsall was the crap at the time. We were bottom or, getting beat. So I'm thinking, I should be playing it. If I was fit, I'd be playing. I'd be in the squad. So I struggled, and I didn't come back again. I come back unfit. I hated running anyway. And I was just mentally weak.
Yeah.
When it come to that, I thought I was strong, don't get me wrong, but mentally I was weak.
So then, at that point now, your football career, you thought, it's
done.
Finished. It's done.
It's over. It was finished. Like, I thought to myself, you know what? Am I really gonna have to go into non-league? Well, I didn't even know nothing about non-league, so like I didn't even know that existed. Genuinely. So I was thinking, what am I gonna do? I remember a few lads went to Redditch at the time, who were at Walsall on loan. So I remember like just speaking to them and saying, like, try and get me in there. Like, I didn't know anyone. I just thought, man, gonna have to just see what happens over the next over the next few weeks, and just take it day by day, week by week. And that is literally what I did. Like, I didn't do anything for about 6 months apart from go to the gym, go to the sauna.
So at that particular moment in time, were you not pursuing any other careers, or was it,
No.
I'm still going to play football?
It was nothing, if I'm honest. It was blank. It was like feeling sorry for yourself. It was like, football's over. I don't want to work. I can't think of anything that would work for me apart from playing football. Yeah, it was completely blank. There was no other thought.
How old were you at the time?
19.
19.
Yeah.
So then what did you decide? Where did you go into coaching?
No. So as I said, I won't do nothing. I was a bum. to be real, I was a bum. I was sat there doing nothing, feeling sorry for myself. And I remember my mum coming to me one day after work. I'm lying around in the house, and she just come up to me and said, "Listen, you can't do this no more. Like, you need to sort yourself out and get yourself together. Like, yeah, you've had a setback. Is what it is. You either go again or go and find yourself a job." And I weren't feeling nothing. But she applied. She come across something in like a newspaper at the time, and she used to have newspapers, and she applied for like an apprenticeship, and it was a sports coaching apprenticeship. I didn't know nothing about it. And then one day she said, "Listen, you've got an interview." I'm like, "I ain't applied for nowhere." She was like, "No, I have for you. Sports coaching. I think it'll be like down your street. Go and have a go." So she took me to an interview in Wild Green. It was at the time called Aspire Sports. I was like their first apprentice, basically. They were rolling out an apprenticeship scheme. They were a sports coaching company, so they would go into primary schools and teach PE and sports club, different sports clubs. She applied, and I ended up getting this job. And I remember it was like £80 a week, and I was thinking, what do you mean £80 a week? Like, what can you do with this? But like, it got me my car. Like, they got me a little run around car, pay for your insurance. Back then, obviously, you're talking 15 years ago or something like that. So things weren't as expensive as they are now. I just started cracking on with that and just gave it a go, really. So I went into primary schools, teaching PE, shadowing people, seeing how it was, and I just enjoyed it. It was something to do. It was sporty still, so I was active. I was probably getting in like 15,000 steps a day. And also I knew someone who worked there. He was like a family friend, a guy called Maurice Wright, and he used to do something called bikeability. So you go out on your bike, basically go to schools, take bikes with you, and teach the kids how to ride proficiently on the road. And I loved it. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Really, really good. Had a good experience there, and it gave me a really solid grounding, and kind of fell into something that I then found a passion for.
You went into coaching with Villa after that?
Yeah, so that was a few years after. So I was a coach. I was doing the coaching at Aspire, going into loads of schools, and I started to love the behaviour and pastoral side of working with kids. So I loved going into like what would be seen as like difficult schools. A lot of staff probably didn't want to go in there because it's hard work and you're dealing with kids who are off the wall and doing whatever they're doing. And I'm like, nah, man, that's me, innit? Like, yeah. I like that. I love the challenge in a sense. That was the passion. So I could deliver like a PE lesson, like with my eyes closed to a good standard. But it was like, actually, how can I actually like add value to these young people's lives that I'm working with? And it was just something that in my PE lessons, my behaviour management was really good, because in my head I've always been like, not letting a kid like run me ragged. You know what I mean? Like, what do you think? Especially when I'm more or less, I'm a young adult still myself. I was like 19, 20. So that was kind of how I was thinking. But I just loved it. Obviously, I just got them. It was just relatability. I got them. They got me. I showed them that I cared for them and that, you know, I had love for them in the right way, and it was all to benefit them. And yeah, we got the results, and that's kind of where the passion started for really working with young people. After Aspire, I remember I always had an issue. I was always struggled working for someone. So the basis of getting somewhere on time, wearing a uniform, going somewhere that I didn't want to go to. And I remember I was working locally at the time at Aspire, and loads of primary schools locally, so it was brilliant. So a school was like 2 minutes from my house. Yeah, sound. And then they started putting me like the other side of town and all this sort of stuff, and I'm like, no. And yeah, it just got to a time where I outgrew it, and I really was struggling with that kind of discipline side of working.
Yeah.
And that's where I thought, you know what, I'm going to do something myself. I've got no like responsibilities. I've got no kids. I've got no. I was with my partner at the time, but you know, there was no house, no whatever bills. I'm free. Like, if you're going to give something a go, give it a go now. If you fail, start again, get a job and rebuild. And I went and worked, funnily enough, someone who I played with at Walsall, a guy called Tom Cox. He was a few years older than me. I think he was, about 3 years older than me. But he also went to my school, Kingsbury. So it's just kind of always been in contact. And he just messaged me out of the blue saying, you doing anything? Do you want to do some coaching? I was like, sound, I ain't doing nothing. So I fell on my feet a little bit with that. I was doing a bit of coaching with them while I was then kind of trying to put together foundations for the future, really, and that's what we started.
So based on what you did at Aspire, was that the inspiration that you had for Foundation for the Future?
Yeah, 100%.
But you wanted to take something from Aspire but build it a bit more relatable to troubled children?
Yeah, so Aspire is all fitness, sport, health and fitness, getting young people active, and they're brilliant, to be fair. I give them the credit. Even now, they've been going, I think, 20 years. It's some feat to be able to go have a small organisation within our sector. It's a real good thing. But yeah, I was there. I didn't really know what my next step was going to be. I just knew that I wanted to work with kids who found it difficult to access, you know, education and behaviour, etc., etc. So I was doing a program at the time called PECS, which was basically you would go into school and you would work with a teacher, a primary school teacher, and help them with their delivery of PE. And he had like a folder, and I just thought, you know what, this is brilliant. Like, just stuff that I could use some of this with some of my kids that I actually work with, do my PE lessons. And a long story short, that was kind of the basis of what we then kind of went with our mentoring program. And it was all just around goal setting, SWOT analysis, and an agreement, just like little foundations that you can build and work with. And yeah, that was where it all kind of started coming together.
When you started Foundations for the Future, at any point did you feel like this is a bit too difficult, I'm not getting the rewards that I want from it? Or did you always feel like, no, this has got legs and this is going to succeed?
Good question. I think I always believed that we could make something of it, because there was a space to support young people in a relatable way, not criticising schools back then, but sometimes that relatability can be the difference maker in having a young person actually get their head down and do really well with their studies, or actually like myself, not really be too bothered and just kind of float by, get through school and do whatever. So yeah, I think it was it was key.
Why do you think there are a lot of children in schools now that don't have that that don't fit into the system and are not going to succeed in that system?
I think education's changed more than we probably realise. You know, when we was in school, I probably take yourself, you know, there was options where I remember I weren't lucky enough to go and do it because I was on a part-time timetable at school going to Wolves in the day, so I was quite lucky in that sense. But like I remember like my friends, they could go and do mechanics, they could go do like workshops, like, you know what I mean, DT kind of stuff, where I'm not saying they don't do design technology, but it weren't something you could get. You can't get a qualification in that now in school at entry level. You can't actually, not many schools offer that as part of their curriculum. It's all on site history, geography as we know it. Whereas when we was in school, there were options for kids who were not academically as strong, and I think now, over the last 10 years, all of that type of education has gone. I think there's one school that I know of, and it's not far from here, Riverside Education, which is an alternative provision in Erdington, and they are the only school that I know of. Anyway, there will be more, but they have bricklaying workshops, they have a mechanicals workshop. I think they've got another workshop for some. They really invest in their curriculum basically and offer something completely alternative. And I think that's the problem now, is that education's gone one way. It's one shoe fits all, whereas we all know that that is not the case, and you're never going to get results that way.
Do you think that schools don't have the facilities to be able to deal with the so-called problematic children?
I think it's a balance. I think schools are, especially even more so now, they are being squeezed for all the finances are just squeezed out of them. You know, it's really difficult for schools to find money, say, to pay for services like ours. It really, really is. Even though they will know that there's a value there, we can support their young people, and ultimately we support the young people. The young people do better. It makes their jobs easier. They just haven't got the resources now. They haven't got the resources, and that's what's really difficult in our sector, is that if you haven't got the resources, it's just impossible. And there's only so much you can do for free.
How do you think the lack of resources within the education sector is going to affect your business?
Well, it already has. If I'm honest, it has done probably from the start. I think it's not something that would ever hit us massively because we've always been used to it. There's always going to be times that some schools will say, you know what, that's we're finished. We can't work. We're not working with you no more. We can't afford it, or whatever that may be. We're not happy with yourself, whatever it may be. You know, that's always going to happen. We've had it over the years where, again, there's been a big change, to be fair, with the government now. We've seen it even more so, where everyone was collaborating for Labour to get in, and actually it's been even harder. And I'm surprised at that, you know, even myself, because traditionally that's not necessarily been the case. You know, national insurance rise, everything now, they're just trying to squeeze so much out of businesses like ours and the sector itself.
You're scaling up a lot, because I know that you've hired a lot of staff and you're doing a lot of different things now. How difficult is it to scale in a business like yours?
It's very difficult. They're very, very difficult. Probably the most difficult part of the journey so far, if I'm completely honest. And why? Because obviously, as you scale, you know, what's been familiar before, whereas say myself or Callum or whoever they've had as working, they become familiar with you, how you work, the results you're able to get, etc., etc. When you're trying to scale, you're then trying to come away from that. You have to come away from that because you need to delegate, manage, etc., etc. And that has been difficult because ultimately you're the standard. Schools buy into you. Trying to get a school to buy into the badge and the organisation, not the individual, has been the hardest part of the journey. I've had so many times the schools like, well, we want you. And I'm like, well, I can't actually do it. And they're like, well, can you support? And then have to find a way. So scaling has been tough. It has really been tough because, again, logistically as well, resources, you know, you have to manage, you have to really micromanage kind of your finances. your planning, your strategic plan of how you're going to go from there to there. So yeah, it's been tough.
You've got high standards. We've seen it on a football pitch as well. Do you find it hard to delegate? Because I look at Roy Keane, for example. You look at Roy Keane's punditry now, and you think that Roy Keane was a player that had very high standards. So he expects that from every single one, whether it's Bruno Fernandes now or whatever. And there's arguments for both. But I kind of understand it because I feel like I'm a bit of that mold where I've got high standards. So I expect everyone else to have high standards. And you're that same kind of person. So do you find it really hard to delegate?
Yeah, if I'm honest, I do. Because ultimately, when you're delegating, you then don't become in control of the situation. Whereas if you're the one who's dealing with the situation, if it goes wrong, it's on my head. I can accept it. If something messes up, yeah, that's my fault. I have to take that. I'll take whatever the consequences come down the line. Whereas when you're delegating, you're trusting other people. You've got to trust in another individual. They could tell you that they're going to do X, Y, and Z, but actually, when it comes to it, they might not be capable, or they don't know how to, and then you come back to square one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that's probably been something that I've been completely honest, I have struggled with.
How are you kind of learning to adapt to that? Like, what kind of, is it a mindset change, or is it a change, or is it a thing of, look, it might take them 10 to 20 hours or whatever, but they will get there. I think they've got that ability to be able to get there, but we know it's not going to be perfect from the off, and you just have to come to terms with that.
Yeah, exactly that. I think I've had to, especially this academic year, I've had a little bit of where I've stepped back a little bit, and you have to just kind of accept it and go, right, this is what we're going with. Ultimately, if it goes wrong, it will come back to on our heads because it's our decision to have gone down that route. And if worse comes to worse, and you go back and you just have to start again. It's as simple as that. And I think probably not being in fear of having to start again. I think that's something that probably for a couple of years I've probably been like, man, we've done so well here. We've worked with over 100 schools. We've worked with over 10,000 young people. But what then? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's been tough. It has been tough.
Would you ever go down that route of an alternative school?
So it was the aim, to be honest. It was the aim. And if I'm honest, to be fair, it probably still is. Having your own school gives you a platform to enrich a young person's life. As we've just touched on, mainstream education isn't for everybody. It's not. It never will be. So alternative provisions are even more popular now than they have ever been. But there's more of a space for them. There is a need for alternative provision. So I definitely think it would be something would like to go down. We made a decision a few years ago to actually say, you know what, our next step is looking to try and go down residential care. The reason being is because I've worked with so many kids who are looked after children, whether that means whether they've got a foster family or whether they're in residential care homes. And I just look at it and think, man, when they talk to me and they open up and they're telling me their journey, I'm thinking, man, they deserve more. They deserve more. Like, I don't think we take into consideration the actual impact of a child being in care. We kind of expect kids to just get on with it.
Do you think the fact that traditional family structures have become a thing of the past is the thing that affects the children the most?
I think there's an argument for it. I wouldn't say it's just that reason solely. I think there's definitely part of it though. Again, it comes back to morals and standards, doesn't it? For me, I've been lucky my parents have stayed together throughout my whole life. So even to this day. So I've kind of seen that actually, tough times, I've seen it, but you stick through it. I think we live very much in a society now where we give up easily, don't we? Oh, that's hard. You know what? Yeah, forget that. I'll get someone else to do it, or I'll just not take a part, whether that's a relationship, whether that's work, whether that's our personal life, whatever it is. It's very easy for us to just be like, yeah, forget that, on to the next. Do you know what I mean? So I think it definitely has played a part for many, many young people because they've got no structure to work from.
Yeah, I think we live in a society where if you think of like before, if your TV's broken, you'd go fix it, whereas now you'd replace it.
Buy a new one.
You buy a new one, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everything's replaceable.
Yeah.
And that then means you lose value when someone's just easily replaceable, you don't value it. I say it to my son now. He comes home, he'll throw his school uniform and that on the floor. I'm saying, no. Pick your things up. Put it away. Value it. It's not just easily replaceable, because there might be a time where, you know what, we've got no business, there's no schools that are working with us. You're going to have to make sure there's no new top if you get pen on your top, but you're going to, you know what I mean? And that's something that I'm very big on with him, is that actually, you know, you've been very lucky so far. You know, he's turns 5 on Thursday, and he's had more flights than he's had birthdays.
Mate, I said this.
Same as your daughter, probably.
My daughter's 18 months, yeah. And when we came back to the UK the other day, that was the 12th flight.
There you go.
I was 20 when I got to 12 flights.
This is what I mean. I think I went on a flight once as a child, once or twice. Do you know what I mean? Like, so he's been very lucky, very blessed, but I also want to make sure that he understands that it's a blessing that he has, and actually it might not be there forever.
Do you think that's tough getting kids to understand that?
Yeah. Of course it is. Because
they just think it's the norm.
Because there's no rationale with kids, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like, they don't think rationally. It's just kind of in the moment. So again, like I was with football, I think I'm going to play football, be a footballer forever. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm going to be in this environment my whole life. So it takes some time, but I think it's very important to start them building blocks now. And have them little conversations and make them aware that it might not last forever, because as we all know, and the dean teaches us, things can change. Click of the fingers.
Yeah. How did COVID affect your business? Because obviously you're in schools, so you weren't able to go out and.
It was tough. It was really tough. Obviously we have a lot of self-employed staff, so they can't go out and work. So they're in trouble because they can't pay the bills. Yeah. It was a difficult time, COVID was, for obviously us and a lot of organisations. I say it was difficult for us because just before we went into lockdown, we had picked up a lot of momentum. I think we'd been going, COVID's 2020, 2019, 2020, wasn't it? So I remember we had been going 3 or 4 years, and we'd built up quite a bit of traction. We'd gone from working in 2 schools to 10, from 10 to 20 to 30, and before you know it, we were at a point where we were close to like working in 40 different schools at the time. And then COVID come, boom, and it was like, it kind of just put a bit of the brakes on it. But at the same time, as we spoke about before we come on this, is that that gave me a lot of time to be with my family, to be with my son who was recently born in COVID. And it just kind of gave me a bit of a time to sit back, reflect, appreciate the journey so far, enjoy the time off to then go again after.
Do you think when you're in business, obviously you have aspirations and you have goals and you have this dangling carrot, that it's very hard to sit and just appreciate what you've actually come through, rather than just looking at where you want to get to? Because where you want to get to will keep going further and further away from you. As soon as you hit one milestone, you're going to want the next. Yeah.
Definitely. You don't appreciate things. I've been saying it to some of the guys on our team recently, is that, listen, schools don't come on board just as a click of the fingers when we want them to. There's a whole process to it. There's a lot of back and forth. There's so much to it. So you have to be able to appreciate that and what it actually is.
Obviously, you're very much Birmingham based at the moment, but there is a need for the services that you provide probably nationally. Do you have any plans to expand nationally?
Definitely. So recently, obviously, you had Callum on a few weeks ago. Callum's obviously moved to Manchester now, which just gave us a little bit of a different scope for us to kind of target a whole new area. The blueprints obviously is here and has shown to be successful. So now it's a case of putting them building blocks in place to start that process again in Manchester. We definitely love to work internationally in different countries. A big thing of mine is I remember when I worked at Aspire, I didn't actually go on the trip, but there was an Aspire to Africa. It was like a charity, go out for like 2 weeks. I think it was Tanzania. Equipment, you had to do some fundraising, but you get them in kits and all sorts, and I thought it's brilliant, and it's definitely something that over the next couple of years that I would love to start to tap into and actually build up a project where we actually help somewhere in another country.
I'm just going to touch upon your non-league career. How was your non-league career? Sum it up.
A journey to say the least. Non-league, I was looking to be fair, as I said at the start, I was probably going to stop playing football. I got to that point where I was like, what's the point? Like, I don't enjoy this. I'm going to places that I've never heard of before. And it's like,
mate, non-league actually, it brushes up geography.
oh, it really does. It definitely does. I remember I was at Redditch, and I went to, where did I go to after Redditch? I've been to everywhere. Romulus, I think it was. I was played for Roms with Eva and Dave Barnett. And that was the first time actually that I had I did a job. So before I started coaching or anything, Eva got me to go and sign down at Roms. He's like, I'll give you X amount of money and I'll give you a job. I'm like, you know what? At 19, I think all I want then is money, innit?
Yeah.
As a kid, you just want money, especially as a kid, as a young teenager. I say teenager, you know what I mean? At the end of your teenage years,
Yeah.
all you're thinking about is money. How can you make money? So I was like, yeah, brilliant. So I remember literally played for Romulus, and I remember going to do like a job. He had industrial cleaning, isn't it?
Yeah. Tame
So
industrial cleaning.
someone picked me up at like 7 a.m. I had steel cap boots, and it was freezing. I didn't get back till like 6. It was like 7 till 6, and I just thought to myself, like, what am I doing with myself? Like, no, I'm not doing this. No, so I just stopped working. I did one day, didn't go back, and I lasted at Roms for about 2 months. And then I think I might have, was it Hinckley? I played for Hinckley, the old Hinckley United in the Conference North. Played there for a little bit, and then I went to Rushall. So it was the first time I went to Rushall when Kitch was there again. Johnny Haynes was there. So I was like, Haynes, get me, it's local, like, sort me out. And I remember doing all the pre-season. The day before the season started, Kitch calls me. I'm at work this time at Aspire. Oh yeah, babes, don't think it's for you. Don't think this is for you. I was like, that's 19. I'm like, you taking the piece? So mate, cool. So then I went to Stratford. So when I was at Redditch, Mick Housell's son, Joey Housell, lovely lad, couldn't speak highly enough of him. He went to Stratford, and he just rang me and was like, listen, do you want to come down? I was like, yeah, I ain't playing nowhere. So and that was probably my first season in non-league football, proper season. Stayed for the season. We won the league. I played with like some real good players, some horrible players as well. So there was a lad I ain't seen him for a while. Don't know if you know Anthony Robinson. Robbo, man, unreal. What a guy. Like him, Tyrone Fagan, Malvin Gore, some Lanzi knows all of these, because that's where I first met Lanzi. So obviously we was at Stratford, and we was with Carl Adams. Carl brought us. There was Carl and another guy called Morton, but he left after a few months, and it was just Carl. But we had all these like lads from Brum, black lads who had got, not a bit of a chip on the shoulder, you know what I mean? Like, you can't be telling us kind of being played at a certain level. And Carl couldn't manage us, and we were like 15 points clear. But he was struggling to manage us as a whole, and that's when he got Lanzi in, because Lanzi could relate to that old chestnut. And that's when I first met Lanzi. I was at Stratford. We won the league. I then went to Bedworth, and that was absolutely, it was terrible experience. I was there for about 4 months. There was 3 managers in that time. Do you know what I mean? And it was just madness. And I remember we played for Bedworth, and I played against House Owen. House Owen were top of the league at the time, and the one beat us 5-0. And literally the next day, the manager rang me, John Hill, Bonky, and he was like, listen, I want you to come down and have a chat. Went down there, and I went and signed at House Owen. And that's probably where I would say my non-league career really took off. More than what it had done before, because before I weren't bothered. I used to, I was drinking. I remember at Redditch I would go out and drink the night before, go and then try and play a game. I got brought off after 4 minutes because my knee went. If I drank alcohol, my knee that I had the issue with at Walsall couldn't deal with it. Like, genuinely, like, I'd go on the pitch and the pain that I would have was horrendous. So I stopped drinking, and went and signed at House Owen, and that's where I met Trevor Burrows. And Trevor Burrows in non-league. People know Trevor. He's like gold dust. You don't find many Trevor Burrows in football as a whole, let alone non-league. And he probably reinvigorated me a little bit, give me a bit of energy, give me a bit of belief, give me a bit of confidence that actually I could go and actually still have a career if I wanted to. I think I was 23 at the time. But by that time, mentally, I was like, I'm not interested in going and playing football full time now. I play part time and work.
Yeah.
With where I am now, it's highly unlikely I'm going to go and play in the Prem or the Champ, League One max. And I was at Walsall in League One. People are like the maximum £2,000 a week, which don't get me wrong, is good money.
Yeah.
But back then, very good money. But compared, that's not going to keep you around, last forever, is it?
Yeah,
compared to your £15,000 a week on a 5-year contract. So it was like, I could do this, but then I'm just going to have to start this whole process if I'm lucky enough to make it in when I'm like 34, 35. I might as well just do it now and just get them building blocks in place. And yeah, I went to Houso anyway with Trev, and Trev just reinvigorated me, man. Gave me just an energy and a confidence. I just loved being around him. And that's where like there was Tonksy, Christian Green, Curtis Till, Island Christie, Neil McKenzie, like unbelievable characters. We won the league, and then we played at Step 4 then. Had a season in Step 4, and then I went to Sutton. So basically I followed Trev for 3 years. So wherever Trevor went, I went. So if he left Houso, he went to Sutton. So I went to Sutton. He left Sutton the year after, I went to Rushall. I went to Rushall. Like that was the case. And yeah, so I went there, played. I was with him at Rushall, and that's where I ended up at Stourbridge. Had a really good season. And yeah, signed for Stourbridge with Gary Hackett.
And then you went to Tamworth.
Yeah, so I spent 2 years at Stourbridge.
You were flying at Tamworth that year in a COVID year.
Yeah, it killed us. Stourbridge was brilliant. Gary Hackett, man, what a guy. Can't speak highly enough of him. Like anyone who's played for Gaz knows what he's like. He was brilliant. His record spoke for itself. Players who had gone on and played in the league from Stour, being with him. He was just a generally all-round good guy. Knew his stuff with football, knew how to manage man management. And had a great season with Gaz, really good season. The first season, we didn't do too good, and I remember him coming back in pre-season and saying, "Listen, I'm not going to offer you a contract this year. You'll be like normal, like just, but I need a bit more from you." And I was thinking, like, I've been all right, and I thought, man, you know what? I could leave it. I forget this. And then for some reason, I think I spoke to Trev. He was just like, "Don't leave now. Like, if he's offered you something, take it. And just knock his door in 6 weeks if you do well." And you've bounced around constantly for however many years, which was true. And I stayed, and it was unreal. I think I got a lot of supporters by the end of the season. But we lost in the playoffs to Alvechurch, which we should never have done. Don't get me wrong, Pee-wee always has good teams. I give him his credit. I like his teams. But they were never as good as us. We had just completely gone. We had played. We should have won the league. We lost out in the last few weeks, and I think by that point our heads had just gone. Then I remember we were supposed to have the home game at home. It ended up being at Alvechurch because of the cricket, but it was just a mess. By that point, everyone was just like, let's just get this over and done with, and we ended up losing. And then Gaz left. Gaz knocked it on the head and said, he's been at Stour, I think it was like 18 years or something. He'd had enough. And I was gutted at that because I love Stourbridge, loved the club, the people, the fans. It was a brilliant club, chairman and AP. Couldn't speak highly enough of AP. What absolutely brilliant man. And I always thought, I'll say this now, if I'd probably went to Stour and been with Gaz at like 20, 21, I probably would have kicked on and possibly went back in full time somewhere. But I had a few options, to be fair, but I didn't want to go back into full time football, and that's when I went to Tamworth, which was brilliant because we had played Tamworth that season, and I remember we'd went there and we'd lost 1-0 in the league, and we were like, man, I wouldn't mind playing here. It's like 15 minutes from my house. Good club and that. I'm like, sound. And then they called me, so I was like, cool. Obviously, Pee-wee took over at Stourbridge. I thought, yeah, man, Tamworth just makes sense. Like, go there. And we had, as you said, we had a brilliant time there. We had an unbelievable team. We were good. We were like,
you were flying. I felt bad. I felt bad for Smudge that year because you were absolutely flying.
Killed everyone, to be fair. It killed Smudge, it killed Andy, it killed us as players. It was tough, and we didn't recover from that. We didn't recover from it. And I actually genuinely believe if we would have won the league. I think we were 9 points clear with a game in hand. We'd beat someone to go 9 points clear with that game in hand. And I just think it just took the stuffing out of everyone because it was like 2 months to go to the season,
Yeah.
and like we were like, it's what do you mean? Do you know what I mean? Like it was just crazy, and it did, man. It really killed people. Then, you know, you try and go again next year, but it's just that you think
It's hard.
we've done this, and I think it was a mentality thing. You know yourself, man. Football
Yeah.
is. I never used to think it, but football's 80% mindset, mentality.
100%.
It is 20% your ability, course, but it's 80% how you feeling, how the lad's feeling, what's the manager like, how can he relay onto that team and get the best out of them.
Like I said to you off air, like about Hinksy. Like Hinksy came in at Wolves Sporting and he was just like, yeah, we're going to play this. But everything else was just vibes. And Lanzi was one of the best, and I think Fowles as well. They're such good man managers.
Yeah. 100%, man. That's what football, I think, the game doesn't have now. The truth, I learned early. I had it from when I was at Wolves, when the new management come in. Like, I didn't have that honesty. You know what I mean? They'd say, yeah, you're doing really well. But you could just tell that you're not really feeling me, which is fine. Just be honest. You know what I mean? I've always had that in football. Just be honest with me. Like, I've no problem. If you don't think I'm good enough, no problem. If I played crap, no problem, tell me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll be honest with you. You can be honest with me. Do you know what I mean? So just make sure it's balanced, and that's fine.
Would you ever go into management?
I've never, ever had ambitions to go into management, you know, ever, up until the last 2 years.
Oh, now
last
you
two
do?
seasons. Yeah, the last 2 seasons have really...
What's changed your mind?
I just think just wanting to have a go. I think with my football knowledge, obviously I've got a relatively decent football background. I understand football in terms of, you know, if I was to be a manager, I would want my teams to be playing. They have to play. I can't be... That's what I've always struggled with non-league. My head constantly looking.
You know what? The thing is, yeah, like, I agree with playing, yeah, but there's a time and a place to play.
Of course.
I went to over 35's final the other day, yeah. I went to see Smiler's team, yeah, Hill. And I'm watching them, yeah, and it's the opposition. They're losing 2-1, yeah. The opposition are losing 2-1. And they're playing passes in the 6-yard box, and I'm like,
no, but
bro, you're over 35.
No, but
like,
this is my point. You have to be able to adapt in
Yeah,
football.
100%.
So don't get me wrong. I would want my teams, if I was to manage, to play football.
Yeah.
I can't just have my centre half just walloping it up top. Unless I've got a big, strong man, like, say, a Dan Creaney at Tamworth as a target man. I don't know how he's not moved into the league, to be fair, because... Don't get me wrong, he's a pest and hard work to play with, but he was unbelievable. I'll give him his credit. The lad is like, he's strong as an ox. As a number 9 target man, you will not find better in non-league than Dan Creaney, because you can play the ball, it sticks. He knows what he's good at, and he's good at it. You know, so I don't mind adapting, no problem. But I need my teams to be able to play, because that's the game, to play football.
And that reminds me of a cup final when we were against you in the 5-a-side league, and we played it long in the Ramadan League. And you were well upset after losing that cup final.
Yeah, man, you like were just booting the ball.
We knew that if we were trying to play football, you were not going to compete.
Horrible, just booting the ball, 5-a-side, booting the ball, terrible. But yeah, I've never wanted to, but the last two years, I've just thought, you know what, I played under obviously Leon, so when I went back to Stourbridge, Leon Broadhurst and Stu Pierrepoint, and they were brilliant. It ended bad, but it shouldn't have. Players let them down, to be fair. But I just thought to myself, man, I'd give this a go. And then obviously the season just gone for one reason or another. It was just mad. And I just thought to myself, you know what? Give it a go.
I think there's a few reasons why I think you make a good manager. The first thing is because of your high standards and your honesty, so players will always know where you stand. But then the alternative is that's obviously like old school. Mm-hmm. But then the things that you do with younger kids, so you understand younger kids
can complement,
and it's a good balance.
Exactly, and that's
and
probably
then you couple that with all the experience you've had over the last so many years, and your footballing knowledge, and I think that will. So any non-league teams that are looking to give someone a go, he's on the market.
I'm here, man.
My last topic. Talk to me about you finding Islam.
Okay, so. A bit of a wild journey, to be fair. Okay. Again, as I've touched on earlier, I was living a life of lack of fulfillment. Obviously, that transitional period of when I left full-time football, probably up until the age of about 23, from 19 to 23, I was just floating. That's probably the best way I can describe it, floating through life. you know, go out, drink, party, which was normal to me. Like that was the upbringing, not the upbringing I had, but that's what I'd see my dad used to drink, etc., etc. And I just remember always kind of being, I've always been like against the grain, so against the normal, so to speak, in life. And when we started setting up foundations for the future, certain things just kind of kept falling into place. And I've always been a believer in God. I was born a Christian, but I've never been never practiced Christianity. So I've always believed in God. And then one of my friends, a close friend, who is a Muslim, he was just like, kind of always with him, round him, business, you know, he's got his own business, etc., etc. And he used to just give us little gems, not necessarily around Islam, just about life in general. And certain things just kept falling into place. And I just remember thinking, like, this doesn't just happen. Don't just happen. Like, and I just remember more and more looking into it, reading Quran, you know, YouTube videos, just trying to self-teach really. And just all of the values just kind of aligned with how I live my life and wanted to live my life. Do you know what I mean? And it just made sense to me. It did. And I was just looking at time was passing. I weren't really thinking much of it. And then, yeah, just one day I think I just woke up and it was just like, you know what, I'm ready. Like, this is my time to take Shahada, and alhamdulillah, here we are. You know, however many, I think it's like six or 7 years now. Yeah, just.
How do you think you reverting had an impact on Callum?
Callum was always close. We're always kind of similar in our journeys. We've always had like a similar mindset of life. Again, we used to go out and party and drink together and do whatever. But then we'd like say on a Sunday, we'd be like, go and play Power League and be like, why have we done this? Like, we don't feel good, so on and so forth, or what comes with alcohol. And yeah, I think we complemented each other well. We lived similar lives. You know, like I kind of, with Foundation for the Future, I put to him like, listen, this is what I'm going to do. I think you'd be good at it, like how you are. We both stopped drinking at this point. We're both like looking more at Dean and stuff, and just little things of life. And I think maybe, I wouldn't say I probably influenced him because he was always at the cusp. I think it was just the outside circumstances which probably was holding him back a little bit in terms of like actually fully committing. And yeah, man, I think he did, again, similar to me, like one day he just woke up and he was like, yeah, man, I'm ready to take Shahada. And again, alhamdulillah, here we are now.
What advice would you give someone that is looking at Islam at the moment?
Be patient and don't be hard on yourself. There's been many times before for even myself, like, especially at the start, I get frustrated. I didn't necessarily understand something, probably not have the confidence to go and ask for advice from somebody. So it was kind of like, oh man, who do I go to? You know, like that alpha man, you don't want to, as a man, you don't want to, I can learn myself, kind of, that kind of mindset. But yeah, I just think be patient, take your time. There's no rush. As like, I genuinely believe your intentions come first. If you've got the intention, then you're already on the right path. And time will come. As time goes on, you'll start to look into it more, and it will resonate. If it resonates with you more, then don't be shy. Take that step, because it can be life changing in a sense of how you live your life and the discipline that it can give you, etc., etc. So yeah.
How important is that discipline in your life and that routine in your life?
Oh, it's key, man. It's so key. Like, I didn't have it, well, especially when I left football full time, I didn't have it. And that's when I started doing foolishness, because there wasn't no structure, there wasn't no discipline. So I was just waking up, and it was like, as I said to you earlier, day by day, week by week. There weren't no plan or anything. It was just like, yeah, let's see how today goes, what comes there. And I was very impulsive. So like, say my friends were doing something, I'll be like, yeah, I'm on it. I'll do it. Even though I might not even think about what it is we're doing, where we're going, etc., etc. It's like, yeah, I'm doing it, I'm in. And then that would lead to certain issues. Do you know what I mean? Whether that was getting involved with the police, other groups of lads. So yeah, man, it's vital. And again, that's why I say, like, even my son, discipline, it's key.
How did your parents take to it?
Fine.
Fine.
My parents completely fine, no issues whatsoever. My mum's very much a spiritual person anyway, so she believes in God herself. So yeah, my mum was like, she works doctors around lots of Muslim brothers and sisters. So she has quite a good.
Do you think it made it easier for you because of the places that you grew up? Like,
oh yeah, 100%, definitely. Like my dad.
To see it.
You know what's mad, and I'll say this now, and this is why I'm saying this on camera. Probably mad me saying it, but as a kid, right, and this is about society. As a kid, when I was like a kid like 6 to 10, 11. I hadn't been necessarily around. Like, I've been in Aston, obviously, so I've been there. But then where we moved to in Erdington, it was mainly just white people.
Yeah.
So I remember as a kid, like, kind of wanting to be fit into my environment.
Yeah.
I wanted to be white, so you get like gel.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, you got hair for, you know what I mean? Like things like that. Like it's mad. And as I remember at school, like, you know, as time's gone on, we say about how we've come on as times and generations. We obviously, Kingsley School was so multicultural, but like it was kind of, you know, you would say, so it was the norm for like calling people Backy.
Yeah.
Or saying, do you know what I mean? And the P word, and it was like, and then not because you were, it was just like, it was kind of normal, the social norm. They would, the lads would say it to you.
Yeah.
And it was like, and only then over time you're going, nah, yo, that's not right.
Yeah.
That's completely like, that is not correct. But I think your environment's everything. So like, again, me being around like, there was another brother, you know him well, Bilal Yafai. I was with him the other week when he's back from Egypt.
Footballer,
brilliant footballer, but more importantly, a brilliant human. And again, I was around him quite a bit.
Was it before you reverted? You were around?
Yeah, before. Okay, so him and a guy called Anthony.
I know him.
You know Anthony, yeah. And they were the influences, and I think probably we couldn't have asked for two people to actually, when it comes to like Dean, actually to look up to and actually go, yeah, you know what, they're living good. They're living good. They're living correct. They're living well. Like, this is what we want. And we were at that point where probably what they had, we wanted. How do you get there? Okay, well, if I'm going out getting pissed like and drunk every week 3 times a week, that's not going to happen. Do you know what I mean? And little things, and so that's a journey, man.
It's a very good point to end on. Thanks a lot, Aaron.
No, thanks for your time, brother.
No problem. Thank you for joining us on another inspiring episode of Evolve and Inspire. If this story has moved you today, remember that every great journey begins with a single step. And sometimes that step is simply believing in the possibility of change. To our listeners out there facing your own challenges, remember, your current circumstances doesn't define your future. Every person we feature on this show started exactly where you might be right now, at the beginning of their journey. If you've been inspired by today's conversation, make sure to follow us on all our social media platforms that we will tag below. And don't forget to subscribe to never miss an episode. You can also join our community and continue these conversations by visiting our website. A special thank you to our guest for sharing his remarkable journey with us today. Your story will undoubtedly spark hope and motivation in countless others. Until next time, keep evolving, keep inspiring, and remember, it's not where you start, it's where you choose to go. This has been Evolve and Inspire. I'm your host, Huzaifa. Thank you for listening.